this a 2-cup of coffee day?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, I heard, yes. It's a 3-cup of coffee day for me. Just 1, 2. All right, you guys tell me. I sometimes get really excited when I'm talking, especially in front of a large group of people, and I get really loud, and I don't normally use the microphone. So if it gets too loud, you just let me know. I can always turn it off or do something else. But I don't know exactly what Jason put up on the website or told you I was going to talk about. I could talk a lot about a lot of different things. 20 plus years in the industry, looking at this work that we do from many, many, many different angles. And I could pick up just about anywhere and go on about any of the topics. I could sit and talk with you guys all day long, but we have a limited amount of time. You're all hungry. I know lunch is right around the corner. So I'm going to hit the good stuff right off the bat, and I'll kind of fill in the gaps along the way, all right, as we go. And I'll see if this clicker is going to work for me. Oh, no, we're good. All right, so social learning. I sent a description to Jason and as far as I wanted to stay along the same track that you may have read from Mark as far as what he was going to say. And this is similar yet different. He talks a lot about implementations and the technologies and the struggles with implementations. I will absolutely touch on some of that if that's what you were expecting. But one of the things that I really wanted to talk about was this idea of social learning versus digital learning, and this terminology that we've struggled with throughout the last, 10 years, 15 years plus maybe, where we're trying to figure out what it is that we do and where we're at in the world. And in my opinion, what we originally defined as social learning failed, and social learning isn't really a thing. It's something we've always done. I'm sure you've heard this in some of your sessions already. We're always learning socially. Whether training exists or not, you're still learning. So there is this fundamental difference between training and learning. And if you get nothing else out of today, and if you haven't ever just sat down and thought about that, that's the one thing that I want you to start thinking about. The differences between training and learning, especially as it relates to your career. Because we add a lot of things to the front ends of these words, right? So it's e-learning, it's m-learning, it's it's e-training, it's learning management systems, and all of the stuff that goes around with that. If you could just take some time and consider what the difference is between those two words, how those two words play out in your career, in your current job that you're at, and in the work that you do, and how you see yourself involved in the work that you do. I'd like, as an industry, for us to gain more clarity around those two words in particular. But to continue this frame of thought, right, adding a discussion forum to your online learning course is not social learning, right? I was reminded of this last night at dinner, and I thought that's just the perfect quote for me to add at this particular spot. Right? We try desperately in our industry as training professionals to take the latest buzzword thing and clamp it on to this thing that we call a course, right? And the course and how we do courses and how we develop courses is this idea and this thing that we can't let go of. And I'm here to tell you it's okay to let go of your idea of what a course is and whether or not they're even useful anymore. It's time for us all to look in the mirror and to figure out what it is that we do to add value to the business, not just how good am I at standing up in front of a room full of people sitting in rows presenting a PowerPoint presentation and teaching something. The more important question to be asking yourself is when those people leave the room and go back to work, then what? What happens then? What are they doing? How are they getting their continuous learning? Because like I said before, we're always learning. Whether the training department exists or not, we're always learning. And that means that there's learning happening at your place of business, where you're working, in the workflow, right? We can't possibly be with everybody all the time. So learning is always happening. Your workers are always learning, and they need support in that learning in the workplace during the work as well. And wait, let me just go back here real quick. This is the big kicker for me, is that the idea of control and responsibility for learning belongs to everybody, right? In the past, I just got off a live stream with Bob Mosier, a guy that's been in the industry longer than I have, and he was always a good mentor, and I've always looked up to him as somebody who leads the industry in many different directions. He deals in performance support more so than training. And the idea of us accepting the fact as professionals, that the idea of us as training professionals or as teachers even controlling somehow and having responsibility for what goes in your head and what you learn is no longer necessary. Technology in the world we live in today gives you the responsibility to figure all that stuff out. It's our job to make the things that you need accessible and easy for you to get so that you can guide and support your own learning. It's for everyone. Technology gives everyone the ability to be both student and teacher. It's not that it's never been that way, right? It's just that the technology that we have today gives everyone, we call this user-generated content, right? And I didn't get a glass of water, but if I could ask somebody for a glass of water, that'd be great. I'm going to start losing my voice any minute. It's the idea of being both student and teacher is not new, right? Everybody has had this ability. It's just now it's super easy to share what you know, to collaborate, to have peer-to-peer learning moments, to launch those types of learning moments using technology with peers around the globe. It's an incredibly wonderful time to be alive in technology and working with this technology and being able to be both a student and a teacher. Everybody is an expert at something, and somebody needs your expertise. And now the technology gives you the ability to create that digital artifact that you can share with them. And not only that, they can find you and your content. It's discoverable. You're going to start hearing this word discoverable a lot in the coming years, because the idea of searching and discovering content is extremely important because we're inundated with content. In the past, training departments were necessary because there wasn't enough content, and we were the ones that created the courses and created the content. Now everybody's creating content, and there is more of a need for people to understand how to find the right content than there is for more content to be made. So it's all in this. This is something that I believed for a long time, even back in the days when the E for e-learning first came about. I truly believe that that E that we stuck on the front of e-learning, J. Cross, bless his soul, when he created this whole idea of e-learning and the technology-driven learning, it really stands for everyone. Everyone is both student and teacher, and everybody learns. And that is the most critical part. If I can get you thinking about that, then what we've done here this morning has been successful and won. If you think about training versus learning in what you've done, and understanding that your customers, your clients, the people you serve are the ones that are in control of their learning, not you. You're not the one responsible for them learning. You are the one responsible for creating an experience for them, creating an environment for them within which they can flourish and do the work that they need to do to learn, to continue to do the actual work. And I'm not going to end there, but I just wanted to hit you guys with those thoughts right away, and then just take a quick 2 minutes and let you guys, let that soak in a little bit. And I want to ask you a couple of questions. So when was the last time you took a training on e-learning course? We took one last week. And how long was it? You sat anywhere, okay, so if you sat for anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour to do this course, raise your hand. What was that experience like? Who wants to volunteer something? Yeah.
It's actually really good because I was trying to solve an issue with something I had and not advertise for somebody, but I can't do it without that. But I was on lynda.com, and I find a lot of their courses really apply to what I do, and I can pick up the pieces I want to see, and they're engaging.
Great. Who else? Who else took something that lasted between 30 minutes to an hour? Yeah.
It was terrible. It was training that I'll never need. That was full of mandatory.
I was going to say, was it mandatory compliance training?
Mandatory. And I said, am I ever going to need to pull these reports? And they're like, oh, no, we don't have to. Well, I'm not here.
Thank goodness you're certified in it, though. I feel much better knowing that you're certified.
It was an Elms training, right?
It's virtual instruction.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
On YouTube, how to create a fly through, find some stars and things.
Right, and that was going to be the next question. So outstanding segue. Thank you. Checks in the mail. When was the last time you learned something from the internet? Right? And when was the last time you did it? Who did it just Who did it just today? Okay, that's more hands than people who took 30 minutes to 60-minute course in the last week. All right, how many of you have done a search and learned something online in the last week? Yeah, pretty much probably all of you, right? This is our reality. This is the reality that we live in. How many of you, when you did that search to learn something, could have done the same thing inside of your enterprise, inside of the business, inside of the corporate space that you work in? Yeah, we do have some. Some of them you could do a search for something, and the return that comes back would be stuff from Google in the outside world and content from inside your company on the shared servers and everything. Yeah, would you have a couple people that have that? Fantastic. Yeah, not many, not many. Yeah?
Well, the person might not have been in my company, but I could have called someone.
Okay, great. Yeah, finding people. This is that collaboration piece. How do you find experts? If you can't find training, how do you find an expert? Where do you go?
YouTube.
YouTube? Anyplace else? LinkedIn's a pretty decent spot to find professionals at stuff, right? And find all of that information and the content you need. So we learn differently, both inside the enterprise where we work and outside, and the experiences that we have. We personally, now let's shift that over. The people, your customers, whether you're training manufacturing workers, salespeople, planning and logistics people, accountants within your company, can they all function the same way?
Not all of them.
Not all of them within the company. How many of you work in environments that are totally shut down inside the business, where everything is highly regulated and there is no Facebooking allowed through the firewall? There is no, oh, there we go, right? That's all I had to say was Facebook behind the firewall. Yes. Yes. It's a significant pain point for some reason, right? Why?
Security.
Yeah, right? We've got security issues and we've got problems. And so we do this blanket statement of Facebook is bad, shut it down, right? The internet has a lot of bad things, let's just shut it down, right? And not let anybody into it. So now you're left with a bunch of people whose experiences in life are outside of work. They can find whatever they want, all the information they want, all the time. But Google is amazing, right? Fantastic place to find the things you need to get stuff done, right? Go into the office, need to get something done, nothing, right? Massive, massive problem. Or the search to find answers to what you need takes longer. The time that it takes within the company to get knowledge that you need to get your job done is significantly greater than if you are outside trying to get your work done. I agree. Would most people agree with that in general? And if it's not you, maybe you're special, but you're the people you work with, right? In general, I think we experience this all the time. So how long have you been working in training, learning, and development? How many of you, let's start with the big numbers. How many of you have been in the industry for more than 20 years? All right, you're my people. I love you guys. How many 10 years or between 10 and 20? Good, working in this place a long time. Good. Under 10 years. All right, bunch of new folks. I think this is my next question. Yes, so how many of you studied? You thought, whoa, what I really want to be is a professional corporate trainer. And I'm going to go to school and I'm going to become that. And how many of you did that route? I did it. Come on, I'm not shy. You know, I don't know why I did it. Yeah, so how many of you just stumbled into it? Just like, your job opened up and you had some skills and they're like, wow, you speak well in front of people. Why don't you be our trainer? We got an opening. And you're like, yeah, we're good. Right? That seems like everybody these days, right? There just aren't that many. And I'll just throw this out there. You are the greatest and the largest portion of our industry, growing more rapidly than any other piece of the industry as a whole. You folks that stumble into this space and that do the work of training. I talk about this all the time, and I cannot emphasize this enough. There are the academic degreed professionals in our industry, and those who are passionate about it, and those who study it and all the time and look into it and write all the research papers and write the blogs and all of that. And then there are the people who just do the work of training and learning and development. The people who are on the front lines and there's work that needs to get done and they do it. Sometimes you don't even have the title of training. Sometimes you're a program manager, you're a project manager, you're a sales enablement, you may be a product engineer, right? And you have to train the sales channel on the new product that your team just created and they've got to sell it. So, the training department is going to tell you, well, if you fill out our ADDIE model form in about 6 months, we might be able to get a course together for you. And instead you're like, no, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just get this little screen capture tool and I'm going to just do some screenshots of it, show people how to do it. I'm going to whip up a little YouTube video sequence and I'm going to just talk and tell people how to do it. And maybe every Friday we'll do a live stream and answer people's questions. Boom, right? Training, learning, non-professionals, solving problems in the business, and then us. Right? There is this great chasm between, this is Utah, so I just can't say it, but getting stuff done and what we do in training and ADDIE modeling us to death and going through the processes, right? There's getting work done, there's being valuable to the business, and then there's what we do. And there was a huge gap between the two. What we do is becoming less important. And I don't want to diminish your expertise in what you do, but I haven't wanted to say this even publicly aloud as a keynote for a long time because people get really frustrated with me when I do. But I need to say it here because I think it's a great reality gut check for everybody. And I confirm it through the colleagues and the network that I have. People that do consulting work in this space are seeing less and less and less work being available. Right? And there's a reason for that. Right? The magic fairy dust that we used to sprinkle on PowerPoints and call instructional design isn't magical anymore. People get it. Right? People see through the facade. Right? We've had YouTube long enough. We've had all of these great social media tools now long enough for people to be scratching their head going, I just learned how to change the carburetor on my 75 Camaro by watching a YouTube channel. And my training department is gonna take 6 months to teach these guys how to change a hose on a on one of our pieces of manufacturing equipment. Why? I don't get it. I don't see the value. Right? It's incredibly important for us to understand this and to see that there is this major shift occurring. And I know the next thing you're going to ask me, and if you don't ask me now, you're going to ask me when we're done here. What do I do? What do we do then? What do I do? Is my job over? Am I losing my job? Don't panic. I don't say this to freak you out and to scare you, because I truly believe that training is still necessary. Right? It's just that it's become obvious that there are other ways to add business value more quickly before getting to the point where you need to create some training. Okay? It's still done, it's just not as often, and it's not as value added. The ROI on taking 6 weeks to create a training course versus sitting a subject matter expert down in front of a video camera like a great little amoeba, like what Sam's got hooked up for me over here, and recording them talking about it, right? What's our first instinct when if you sit a subject matter expert down at a table and you record them, hey, because you're gonna get some great video bites for the training course you're creating. That's gonna take you 6 or 8 weeks, right? You record that video, and that video is gold, right? And you know it. You got some of the best information that you have, you first of all, it took you forever to get an hour of this subject matter expert's time. So let's not devalue that. So you finally got this guy for an hour. You turn the camera on, no technical difficulties, it all worked. You gathered this video chunk of information and you keep it. Now you gotta go through your process. I'm gonna have to analyze the video. I'm going to have to figure out which pieces of it fit perfectly into my corporate training. I'm going to have to add, what do we add to it? Objectives, right? What are, which of the chunks of video are going to best support my objectives, right? Forget about it. That gold, that piece of video that you have is absolute gold. Cut it loose. Give it to the people that need it, right? People have been waiting to hear from this guy or gal just the way you have. There is nothing in the world that says you cannot take that raw video, post it somewhere in all of its 60 minutes of glory, and dogs barking in the background, or somebody from transportation coming in and interrupting, and interrupting the interview. Right? It doesn't matter as long as the audio is really good and people can hear it and people can see what you're talking about. If there's visuals, cut it loose. Give it to the people, right? That's business value versus old school training content creation. This does not mean that you're done, right? You just don't sit someone down in front of a camera, record it, and cut it out, boom, move on to the next project. It's just adding value to the business while you're going through the process. Because guess what? Now guess what you're getting? You're going to get feedback. Thank you, sir. Now you're getting feedback on that raw video because need trumps quality every time. Even if that video and that audio was bad, if somebody really, really needed to hear what that person had to say, they're going to listen to it and they're going to be grateful that they have it because there was no other way for them to get it. Need trumps quality all the time. All the time. Doesn't mean you can't go back and update it, right? Man, talking for 4 hours straight will kill you. We're good. Right, so digital learning. This is what the new term is. Josh Bersin has released this, is winning the day. Right? So if we're going to be putting words in front of other words, this is the new one, and I'm sticking with it too. I like it, right? Digital learning. It's a great sort of all-encompassing term that takes everything that we do. Everything's digital. Have we had digital learning even in the e-learning days? Yes, because everything was digital, right? I mean, from day one, yes. But this kind of clears the palette for us, right? Cleans the slate a little bit and says, digital learning. But the reason why this is good is that there's no baggage that goes along with it, right? That video that you took with the subject matter expert is an hour-long digital video file that you're cutting loose. It's learning. Somebody learned something from it. Somebody that had a need learned something from that video. All content is learning content to someone. Right? Think about that for a second. Everything on the internet, right? 99.9% of what's on YouTube is crap. Nobody watches it, right? And there's like 0.9 something percent lands on the today's hot list, you know, and so there's more junk out there than there is good stuff. Okay, but that one piece of junk that I needed to change the water pump on my car, I noticed only had like 3 views on it, but it was the exact same model as my car, exact same year. You know, the guy took like the first 15 minutes of the video to show me how he cleaned parts in his little tub in his barn, you know, but I'm like, okay, this is why we have controls. This is why digital is awesome. I wrote a blog post once about the most undervalued and underrepresented technology of all time in learning and development is the rewind button or scrubbing. I used the rewind button, but the point was all of the controls of being able to, you have control over the video, right? I could scroll past the guy telling me about how he cleaned all the parts and just get right up to the part where I saw, oh, he's under the hood of his car now. This is good. This is what I want to see, right? And so this is the idea and the place that we all need to get to in understanding how all this works. And this is the holy trinity of the future of your life. So the second thing, if you're going to remember anything, I think I've thrown out some pretty quotable, tweetable things so far. Yeah, so, right, Kara's holding me up to my end of the bargain, right? So it's all good stuff, but this is the holy trinity right here. Yes?
Anthony Ellsbury and a few others want to complain a little bit about the 16-minute video.
You, Anthony, would be watching.
Actually,
Anthony, this is for you.
he actually not here.
Oh, your resident curmudgeon is now being represented by Katie Stroud. So, give Katie her time. Anthony, she's doing a better job than you. Content, collaboration, context. All right? Content in general. I've got a whole bunch of slides after this that I can show you some stuff. But what I really want to do is drive these points home in whatever direction you'd like to take any of these points. Right? Content in general. Why content? First of all, go ahead. Right? How many of you do not feel like you're drowning in content? Right? I mentioned it earlier, right? I mean, you know, there was a time when there wasn't a lot of content, right? So let's go way back in the Wayback Machine, right? There was a time where you had to be somebody really important to write a book and to get that published, right? Basically, it was content. Right? And to get that done and to have that artifact exist took a lot of effort and a lot of time. And you had to be somebody important. And you had to have money, and all that kind of stuff, right? Today, not so much. Right? Anybody and everybody, you know, repeat after me. Everybody is both student and teacher. Right? With the technology today, you can create everybody, every one of us here, and the people that you train, and the people that you work with, can all create their own content. This makes this gigantic sea of awesomeness that you now have at your fingertips that you can expose to your learners, that you can piece together great learning experiences. Right? When was the last time you created a course that consisted of I don't know, I'll just make something up, a TED Talk, a YouTube video, an internal tech document, an internal video of a subject matter expert, maybe a PDF file tucked away somewhere that we discovered, and a lynda.com course. How many of you have ever done that? Nice. All right, we have some people living on the edge. Right? This is the future of building experiences. Any one of these elements exists on their own, and they're valuable. Right? You can take this content. I don't care if the PDF that you put into the list of things, into the curriculum or into the course, however you structure it, in whatever tool you use, it doesn't matter. If the PDF file is a 300-page technical document and you add that as part of the course, fine. Do you want to call it, it's supporting material versus, training material? I don't know. But the very first thing and the fastest thing that you can do to add value to the business is to organize that stuff, expose it to the people that need it, and make sure they have access to that content quickly and easily. You can bulk it, you can aggregate it, you can curate it quickly, and here's the kicker, folks. You're not the only ones that should have the ability to do it. There's no reason why a subject matter expert can take a 60-minute video of themselves and say, you know what, I'm gonna build my own course. I'm gonna show that training department. We don't, 6 months to put the training out. I'm just gonna do my own. How many of you have ever experienced that? I've been that guy. Right? Forget about it. I don't want to go through your process. I don't want to go through your LMS. I don't want to deal with all of the issues that come with having to deal with everything else that goes along with it. All I know is that the people I'm trying to train need something and they need it right now. And I know the person, the guy, the gal that has the information, and we're going to get the two together. I used to call what we did brokerage. Right? I was a knowledge broker for a long time, and I still kind of figure that's really, at the end of the day, that's what we do. If we're going to be the middleman in the job that we do, we're knowledge brokers, right? And what's the fastest way that you can think about it from a financial standpoint, right? We're making money. We make money in moving knowledge and transferring, right, and making connections to people. The best and fastest value add we can do is take the person that needs the knowledge, connect them to the person that has the knowledge. Get them together, back away, get out of the picture. But what does that not do? It doesn't scale up.
That doesn't record it for anybody.
Thank you very much. So this is the piece that we're going to talk about in a little bit too. There is no data on what you just did, right? This is value add, and you can assume that something happened. But we as a training department, the value that we bring to the company is being able to not only allow all of this learning to occur and this aggregation of this content and people learning from each other, but it's us being able to gather data on those experiences and figure out how to even make them better, right? And the only way we can do that is by getting a better understanding of what happened. How long did it take? How long did it occur? What were the value-added bits? I mean, let's say those two people got together and it took 8 hours of meetings for the two of them to really, for the one person that needed the knowledge to really get everything that they needed, right? What's our job at that point? To make sure that the next person that needs to get that knowledge doesn't require 8 hours of that subject matter expert's time to get it, right? The value to the business is at that point is, all right, now let's make this better. Let's make this experience better, faster, cheaper. Right? That's the business that we're in. We're not in the business of being gatekeepers. We're in the business of improving what's already happening and being the empowerers, the ones who are taking existing learning, existing knowledge transfer elements, existing learning experiences, and making them better and putting those experiences in the right places. So collaboration, right? This is finding experts within your business or within the industry that you're in. And I forgot to ask somebody to be my timekeeper. I just realized, how much time do I have? 5 minutes? Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I don't think I can do the rest of this in 5 minutes. Actually, I could speak to you guys for another 3 hours on all this stuff. So it's a curse of mine, and I'm working on it. But if you actually, so I'll use part of this 10 minutes. So if you want to listen to all of this, you can tune in at 8 o'clock in the morning, Pacific time for a TLD chat. We go live stream every morning, and we just talk shop about all of this exact same stuff every single day. Some days we have guests, other days we just talk about nothing, and then I apologize for your hour being lost, and we try it again the next day. You know, but we do the best we can. But no, collaboration. So this, and I say that because we want more people to enjoy this, you know, this hour of experience. But I'll tell you, the original reason why I started doing this hourly thing was I wanted to test out the technology to see if this was a viable way for people to learn. What if your subject matter expert could hop on a live video stream within the company and just turn it on and just say, hey, I'm hanging out in my cubicle. I've got an hour to kill before my next meeting. I just wanted to answer questions. And a notification, let's say, goes out to everybody that is subscribed or following this subject matter expert, and they see it on their phone, and it's like, oh my gosh, Janet's going to be doing an hour-long conversation. I have these questions for her, or I want to listen to what she has to say. And you can just take out your mobile device, or you can sit at a laptop, or and you can engage. Right? This is technology and artificial intelligence and bots and all of that kind of stuff doing the knowledge brokerage for us. Right? Finding the experts, collaborating with the experts. Right? This does not mean, again, let me reemphasize, that training goes away. Right? Training still must exist. There are those moments where everybody still needs training, and we still need to create training, and where training can do things better, faster, cheaper than, you know, a super long YouTube video or whatever, right? It's the time factor. How long does it take someone to find the right content, right? We need to solve that problem. Bubbling up the best content for them to view. If it's not the right content and no content exists, there should be a way for that person to be able to then say, well, I've got that knowledge, I'm gonna make that course. Or I know who does it and I can make that course. And they should have the ability to do so. They shouldn't have to have a gatekeeper to go through. Or if for some reason you have to, they should at the very least be able to go to the training department somehow, email, whatever, and say, you know what, I found nothing on this particular topic. I think it's really critical. Can we put it on the roadmap, right? And figure out how to get this work done. Context. How many of you, how many of you have, you know, still when you train, you have to leave whatever you're doing, or when you learn something, you either have to leave an application or leave your desk and go to a particular area to do it when you do your training or do your learning. Yeah, so when, like, how many of you work in software all day long as part of your job? Yeah, what software are you in? Where are you in? Oh, excellent, okay. Yeah, perfect, good one. Let me grab a collection over here. What kind of software are you in? Anyone, whoever raised their hand over here. I thought I saw a hand go. Oh, never mind. Camtasia, all right. I'm going to have to talk to the TechSmith folks and Adobe about this. Anyone else? Storyline? Okay, yeah, so you're all developers. So let me change the question a little bit. Your employees, the people you're training, what software do they live in?
It's internal.
Internal software, great. Outlook, okay. Same things? Cerner, great. Hospital folks, love it. Salesforce, yes, right, okay. So all of these gigantic enterprise tools today, and a lot of different companies are solving this problem. But these tools do not have, at the very least, if you're lucky, you just close out of that tab and have to open up your browser and then log into another system and then find the training you need. And it's a handful of clicks to get the training done, right? The context I'm talking about is what if you're in Salesforce and you're in a particular account, for example, and wouldn't it be great if your calendar popped up and said you're meeting with this particular client or potential client, in an hour. Here's 3 articles, most recent bits of content about that client that you might enjoy catching up before you go to that meeting. Or here are the 3 documents inside of your company related to this particular client. One recently written by another salesperson who made a deal in a different part of the company, and it exposes that, right? That's learning within the context of the work. Yes, it happens to be happening within the software, but we're talking about making it happen with artificial intelligence, machine learning, making it happen all within the work that you're doing, whatever that work is. Your nurses, for example, anybody working in any type of software that manages the business, it already knows the work that you do, but is it smart enough to deliver learning to you? Most enterprise software is not, but that is the future. That is where we are going. We're making more content than we've ever seen in our lives. There's more content out there than we probably even need, except for the new software that just keeps getting cranked up. But every time the technology moves more quickly, the more content that gets created, the larger this ocean of content gets, and the more important searching and streaming and aggregating and discovery becomes. Collaboration, finding experts, finding people that can help you get the knowledge you need or help you create content based on the knowledge they have and be that knowledge broker. And context, how do you deliver that content that is that digital piece of learning, that digital learning that's in that artifact? How do you deliver that into the hands of the learner at the moment they need it, even in those moments when they don't know they need it? That is where we win. And that is where I will end my talk today. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Oh, yeah.
All right, give me one more hand, folks. Thank you, Brent, so much for being a part of things. Thank you for being here. You want to put your slide back up of your Twitter account? I think it's
Oh, yeah, I don't think I had a slide for it, but you can go to @bschlenker, BSCHLENKER.
I think it's on your slide 6.
Oh,
the yellow slide.
Oh, yeah, that's right. All right.
I just wanted to tag on to Brent's comments a little bit. Yesterday, when I met in my pragmatic instructional design session, I swear I have the slides before you talked about it. But the one thing that we do get stuck in about meeting the need, right? That we get stuck and we look for bright and shiny things, right? Those bright and shiny things are usually for us to be interested in what we're building, right? Okay. But meeting the need is the most important thing. The second thing, and it's just a different way of saying it, is people still teach people, right? We still learn from each other. And he brought up the term digital learning, and it's a good term and a good phrase. We've always had technology in teaching and training. It's always been there, whether it was cave paintings, right? Or showing you how to use a tool, that's technology, or books. Book was the huge advance in passing knowledge from one person to the next. I didn't have to go to be an apprentice to learn how to build a barrel. I could now read a book and get an idea, and I may build many bad barrels, but eventually I would get there, okay? A good friend of ours, Megan, is learning how to be a beekeeper, right? She has not taken a single class, right? Not an online one, okay? So she's learning to do that. But technology has always been involved. And so I was going to tag into what Brent said, is that we simply have to change where we fit into that process because we are still valuable, right? And what most of us have been involved in this industry long enough for is that we were at the beginning of e-learning, which was a huge shift because now technology was pervasive in our organizations. And they said, well, how do we go from an instructor-led environment to a digital e-learning environment now that everybody has access to it? Now the question simply changes. Now that everybody has information and everybody can look for it, and I call it a search and learn culture, right? Now, our role simply changes in that process. No less vital.
Absolutely, it's just very different.
It's just very different. And I'm lucky to be married to an archivist. My wife works for the Texas Women's Collection at UW University in Denton, Texas. They house information. Thousands and thousands and thousands of documents. And one of the things is her career and my career suddenly in her master's degree of becoming an archivist merged. Because I'm a trainer guy, as many of you are, and a developer, and she's an archivist. And suddenly those two things merged because metadata for all those documents, all those images, all those things became the key to everything because we had to be able to search and find it, right? So one of the things I just mentioned yesterday is that you have to think about macro instructional design, not just courses, but how do you design your environment? How do you design the experience? And I agree absolutely, letting go of responsibility. So anyway, I wanted to tag into that.
Yeah, that's great.
So I'm actually teaching a session tomorrow or Thursday on Need to Know, which is a lot of similar, but there's some pragmatic pieces to it. So join for that if you can. Brent, anything else?
Yeah, let's see. If you want to talk more about building that experience, that learning experience, there are such things as learning experience platforms I'd be happy to talk to you about as well. Just come see me afterwards. If you want to talk, ask me about TLDC. We're live streaming right now to the community at tldc.com, tldc.us, I'm sorry. And so, if you're interested in collaborating with Chris, we actually have some folks here. Kara joins us quite often. Katie joins us. Sam joins us. Anybody else in the group that's been there? Yeah, we've got a couple other folks that have joined us before. So, yeah, Katie.
Just a quick comment from Trisha Ransom. If you're going to talk to Brent, make sure you have a lot of time.
I have to mention, Anthony Altieri is not here. He doesn't fly. He drives here from the Philly area. And he drives all the way in. And he's usually here presenting. Yeah. And he couldn't make it this year. I'm very disappointed because every year he tends to win the socks, the Superman socks. And to watch him wear the Superman socks with the cape on his hairy legs is quite an exciting thing. Brent, thank you again.
My pleasure. It was fun. Thank you. I hope everybody got something out of this. There's nothing worse than having to sit through somebody like me rambling on about something he just really is passionate about and you feeling like you didn't walk away with something. So my commitment always to everybody that I talk to is I am available. You can find me anywhere online. You just Google my name. And besides a guy in Montana, a fly fisherman turned real estate agent who has the exact same name as me, it's mostly me on the internet. But just make sure you hit up me. And unless you want to go fly fishing, I'm sure he's wonderful at teaching people and taking me on tours. But I'm happy to help you with your questions. If you've got projects, if you're stumbling across anything, if you're like, I don't believe anything you said up there, Brent, I'm happy to talk about that too, because I love nothing more than being proven wrong about things. So again, enjoy the rest of the event and feel free to reach out.
Thank you. All right, now the most important part, food. I think most people know, except for those who came in this morning, just follow the clan up the mountain for lunch. You have until